let's start off by highlighting the April job gains, because that is a key point in regards to what I'm going to discuss in regards to unemployment and too much money being pumped into circulation and stuff like that. So for the April job gains, Biden and his team, as well as the experts, were all saying, "Oh hell yeah, we're expecting 1 million plus job gains in April, and then we could possibly see it go throughout the rest of the year." Well, April job gains came. That shit was short. They were expecting 1 million plus. There's only 266,000 jobs gained. That is only like 27% of what they actually considered. That's not even half of their goal. That's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. And there's a lot of conversation and topic about it that goes back and forth in regards to why there's so little. And a lot of it also pertains to people, the working class, are reevaluating what their career goals are and what they want in life, what they want to do job-wise. Because I was reading some things where it's like this guy, for example, he was a retail manager, but then lost his job as a result of the pandemic. And then is now, instead of getting forced back into the retail system where I had to deal with people that had fits about the mask, that were making so much more issues in regards to the pandemic, just stupid customer handlings and stuff like that. And so he wanted to go into a different field. And that's understandable. It's well justifiable, because a lot of people hate their fucking jobs. I hate my job. But there also comes to a question, okay, it's you're going down a different career path and you're pursuing that. What results are you gaining from it? And that's where the controversy and the issue stems from, the unemployment, because when you allow excessive unemployment benefits, it can disincentivize people from joining the workforce in order to continue collecting unemployment. But it could also give people that are currently working the incentive to purposely get fired or lose their job in some way in order to reap those unemployment benefits. And if you don't think that is possible, I'm sorry, but you're a fool if you don't think that's possible. As I was saying with the shortages, if you don't think it's possible for there to be people that's going to abuse unemployment, if you don't think it's possible for people that are going to take advantage to some extent, then you're dead wrong. There's a lot of gray areas that come into effect in regards to unemployment, but in regards to just welfare benefits as a whole. Example I'm going to use is the AFDC program, which the AFDC program is the Aid to Families with Dependent Children. It was a program that was originally a part of the Social Security Act of 1935. And the purpose of it was to provide aid to mothers whose husbands had either passed away, whether it was war or in a coal mine or any other reasons, or had divorced them. This program, which coincided with other already existing programs, provided AFDC recipients additional benefits such as food stamps, earned income tax credits, Medicaid, job training programs, free school meals, and housing assistance. So this is a welfare program during the 1900s that had pure intentions and only wanted to purely benefit the people who are suffering. And it originally started out as a non-controversial program. However, as years went by, negative public opinion of AFDC rose dramatically, and there are multiple reasons why. And this is going to coincide to what I was saying in regards to unemployment and people taking advantage of it. So starting off, the public disliked the program. And when I say public opinion and the public, this is referencing the data from public opinion during the AFDC program, which was from 1935 to 1996. So that's where the references and data is coming from in regards to public and public opinion. But the public disliked the AFDC program because they felt it weakened the family image by encouraging out-of-wedlock births, since AFDC recipients received additional benefits for every new child. There was data that did support this concern because there was an increased proportion of out-of-wedlock births in the country as a whole during this time. Public opinion also expressed concern that many of the recipients receiving benefits were secretly working on the side. This was also to be proved true, as the data showed at least half of all AFDC recipients in several large cities were working on the side. The demographic of AFDC recipients had also changed. In 1970, about half of the total mothers on AFDC were on it because their husband died or divorced them. Only a quarter had never married. By 1994, only about a quarter of mothers on AFDC were on it because their husband had died or divorced them. On the other hand, over half of mothers on AFDC during this time period had never married at all. So basically, that section in 1970, about half the mothers on it had lost their husband or divorced, and only a quarter of them had never been married at all. So they just had children out of wedlock. However, by 1994, so this is just within a 24-year gap, by 1994, only a quarter of mothers that were on AFDC had lost their husband or were divorced, and more than half of them were never married at all. And then, while most women that had gotten on the program for the first time had gotten off of it after just a few years, because this is supposed to be a temporary relief program to get the family back up on their feet, studies showed that at least 2/3 of women on the AFDC program at any given point had been on the program for over 8 years. There was also debate that the high welfare benefits from the AFDC program gave people more incentive to stay on welfare versus getting a job, which results in an increase of total people living in poverty. The controversy around this program became so bad that the program was abolished in 1996. And this was an especial shock to many politicians and private citizens, because as the saying goes in politics, it's easy to pass legislation, but it's damn near impossible to stop it. And so we have this. This is historical records. This is historical, factual data from our history, stemming from the Social Security Act in 1935 all the way to 1996, where it began coinciding with the TNFA. And you see with AFDC, it had pure intentions to provide benefit to mothers who had lost their husbands, whether it was dying or divorced, and it was solely on them to be able to take care of the children in the household. Pure intentions, and it was to benefit them. And we can all agree that's a good thing, because obviously we don't want anybody to suffer like that, because that's only going to have a negative and harmful long-term impact, not only on the mother but on the children as well, and it's going to create a lot of problems from it. However, it's unfortunate that there's enough people out there that ruins the program for the good people. And what I mean by that is, it's exactly how it comes across. There is enough bad people that are willing to manipulate and abuse the system to collect the benefits, that it ruins it for all the good people. And that's the problem. And that's a societal issue. That's something that the government can't fix without impeding on our rights and worsening the situation. But tying in with unemployment, there's a lot of people as a result of the pandemic that do need it. But then there are other situations where there are genuine people who take advantage of the system in order to reap the benefits. And there's one thing I want to make clear is that there's a lot of gray area in it too. A lot of gray area. Because when it comes to the unemployment benefits, and this references back to the AFDC program, there's a lot. It's not black and white. There's a lot of gray area, because there's the people that are willing to abuse the system to reap the benefits. That can create a chain effect where it decentivizes the people who are trying to do good and stay right. It decentivizes them to stay that route. When, for example, you work 50, 60-hour weeks doing manual labor, whether you're a landscaper or anything like that, and you get paid, say, $2,000 a month. Well, if you look at somebody else who's on unemployment and that is in fact abusing the system, and you see them collecting, if not $2,000 or more, isn't that gonna just make you not want to work? Because it's like, bro, I'm busting my ass off. I'm sweating. I'm shedding blood, sweat, and tears to just be able to make a living and to provide for myself and my family. Yet somebody who isn't working is making more than me. It sucks. It sucks. And that's where one part of the issue with unemployment right now comes into play. Now, the other side of it, which circles back to what I was talking before, is that there's also a lot of people, for example, that got laid off or fired or end up quitting during the pandemic because of all the bullshit that came with it. And they're reevaluating their career choices. So they're either going back to school to specialize in a different market industry, or they're just simply trying to find a job in a different market industry altogether. So that's why you've seen call center work also hit a spike too, because there's more of a demand for it. And that's completely understandable. I respect that 100%, because at the end of the day, who the fuck wants to work their job? If I had a choice between a job and a career that I loved, I would choose the career that I love, because it's what I want to do and something I'd be passionate about. And that's completely understandable to the people, for example, currently on unemployment, that are using this opportunity to be able to pursue that so they have a better living. That's part of what the AFDC program was. That's why they offered job training program, housing assistance and everything, because the single mothers, they had to be able to work towards having a sustainable living, not only for themselves but for their kids as well. So for the people that are currently on unemployment that are using it to seek a better living, you got to respect that. That's where the gray area within this whole controversy comes into play, because there is truth to that too. And if you deny that, I'm sorry, but you're an idiot, because it's speaking from personal experience of not being satisfied with ever working at a job. Because I've worked at Lowe's, I worked at other places too. I have done manual labor, landscaping and stuff like that, and it's a very hard job. And I give credit to the people that stick to it and stick to the grind, because that takes a lot of dedication, a lot of grit and toughness to be able to get through that and to be able to handle it. But that's why you're seeing so much controversy and back and forth. And this, I'm gonna refer to a philosophical term. It's called anarchic truth. And the anarchic truth, this was actually, the term was coined by one of the very first Greek philosophers, one of the first female philosophers, and I don't remember her name, but she existed during the same time as Plato, Aristotle, Socrates. But because she was a woman during that time, she was washed out a lot of history, which sucked. But she came across a pretty good term, and it's called anarchic truth, and it's basically saying that there's more than just one truth. And to go ahead and use an example with the unemployment, the first truth is, yes, there are people that are abusing the system for their own selfish gains and are not working towards improving themselves or getting off of it. That is true. AFDC program proves that as a historical data point to support that truth. Truth number two, there's also people currently on unemployment that are using the opportunity to pursue a better life, whether because they had a really shitty job before and got fired or quit as a result of the pandemic, and they're currently on unemployment, but now they're using this time to go back to school or to get HVAC training or to pursue a career. That's a second truth. That is the other side of the argument and everything with it. A third truth is that too much unemployment benefits can also disincentivize people from working. Too much unemployment benefits, excessive unemployment benefits, can encourage more poverty as well. That is a third truth, because if you're working 40 or 80 hours a week, but just barely scraping by to be able to put food on your table for your children, and I have my own personal experiences with that growing up in poverty. When you have that and you're suffering like that, but you see other people collecting so much unemployment benefits, and it incentivizes you to find a way out of the current job and to get the unemployment benefits. That's the third truth. And that's why it shows that there's a strong gray area in this. And it's a really difficult thing to handle, because there's understanding for a lot of it too. Obviously, there ain't going to be no understanding for the people who are genuinely just being lazy as fuck and just collecting the unemployment benefits, the couch potatoes who will do nothing, who will not work a job the day in their lives and just let other people take care of them. There are those people that are abusing the unemployment system right now. Guarantee it. And it really sucks too, because it takes away from all the good people that are actually on it as well, because there's still the other people that are using it as an opportunity to either get their job back or to find a better job so they could pursue what we were born with, and that was our constitutional rights, the right to live freely and wholeheartedly, and the pursuit of happiness. So they're using this time also as that, and that's why you can't necessarily, I don't know what I was getting with that, but that's why there's such a gray area with it as a whole. And then there's the people as well are busting their ass doing landscaping, manual labor, doing all this extra shit and all these trade jobs and everything, that are seeing the truly lazy people, the truly lazy people are taking advantage of the system, seeing them abused it and see them get more money than the ones that are actually working, and it decentivizes people from working, because it's all like, well, fuck, I could barely take care of myself as is, busting my ass to do everything that I can to make sure I got food on the table. Yet there's people on unemployment that is just reaping the benefits and not having to put any work in. So that's what everybody now really needs to consider. And it's a hard thing to siphon through all of that stuff too, because with the welfare benefits and welfare systems, there's always going to be there to abuse it, since we have seen that historically with the AFDC program. And obviously you can't go after everyone, you can't just arrest all of them, because that's political suicide right there. Because first off, I guarantee you there are potentially hundreds of thousands of people that are just simply abusing the system. Right, I could be wrong in that figure. That could be a little too excessive. But the point is that there are plenty of people all across the U.S. that is abusing the system. But then there's also plenty of people across the entire U.S. that are using it as a stepping stone to move towards something greater, as a temporary thing. And there's just so much gray area. You can't go around and accuse of the fraud and all this shit and stuff like that without committing political suicide, because at that point you're going to be seeing mass arrests, you're going to be seeing a lot of shit happen, and you're going to really upset the American people at that point. But it's just, oh yeah, so it's, and to circle back to something that I was referencing in regards to the AFDC program and stuff like that, is the AFDC program was abolished in 1996 because the program was so controversial, was so tainted, and became so obscured that they had to cut it out entirely. And to an extent, something like this, my personal opinion, something like this should happen to an extent with unemployment now. There shouldn't be so much excessive unemployment benefits to the point that it's pumping too much money in circulation and resulting in inflation. You pump in too much money, or you pumping in too much unemployment benefits, you're also going to lead to the work shortage as well, because there are going to be less people that want to work and just take the free money. But it's fucking brain fart. Oh my god, I have such a brain fart. Oh yeah, okay. So, and like, it's so another example of it, like, there's good people within the unemployment system, but there are bad people that are ruining it for them. When I worked at Lowe's, there would be like specific things, like it was like those little build kits before Lowe's stopped doing the program. But Lowe's, they had like build kits where families could come in, build like little things together and have fun together. And oftentimes too, there would be extra kits that were just could be given out. Well, if they're parents that had just missed the building session, but they really wanted to do it, we would give one out to them and be like, oh my god, thank you so much, they got to do it with their kids and everything. It was a great thing. However, there are also people that would go in and say, oh my god, I can't believe I forgot it, can I have one please, I just want to do it for my kid. Oh, thank you so much. And can I have another one, I got 2 kids, they would want another one. Oh my god, thank you so much. Oh, my neighbor, he also missed it too, can I have one for them too? Oh my god, thank you so much. I'm saying that off of firsthand experience of actually being on the other end of that, of having to give those to people who are clearly taking advantage of it. So it's like it used to give out the free build kits to the parents that genuinely did miss it and just want to be able to do it. But then there were also parents or just random people that would come in and ask for the build kits, ask for multiple of them, and then either sell it off or just hoard it or whatever. And hoarding, actually, yeah, they would just hoard it or they would just sell them. And because it got so bad, we had to stop giving them out, period, because of that. It was because there were so many bad people that were ruining it for the good people. We were not able to continue handing them out the extras for free. And that pertains to the same way to unemployment and to the AFTC program. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people within the unemployment system that are genuinely taking advantage of it, that are staying on it for several years instead of using it either as a stepping stone to find a new job or a better job, or just simply getting off of it because it's a temporary solution. It is not a permanent solution. It is a temporary solution. But because you have those people that are exhausting the system and abusing the system, it is going to attribute to further issues of whether it's inflation or decentivizing the working class to actually work. It's going to ruin it for everybody else. And to an extent, that's why I feel there needs to be a better handling of unemployment itself. There has to be a limit to how much unemployment benefits there are, because if you allow too much benefits, then they're not going to want to go back to work anyways, period. It's like, oh my God, I'm collecting $2,500 a month off of unemployment benefits. Back in my old job, I was only collecting $1,500, and that's the only type of job that I could find now, something else that also pays $1,500 a month. Why should I get off of it? So you have to limit the benefits so it doesn't disincentivize people from rejoining the workforce or incentivize people quitting or getting fired to collect the benefits. You limit it so that way you could regulate that from happening. So that way you could regulate what's happening to the people that are abusing the system to provide more concrete and foundational benefit to the people who genuinely need it. And to some extent, unfortunately, there will be good people within it that are going to take a blow from it as well, because that's what happened with the AFDC program. There were a lot of good mothers on there that were a part of it as well that had the program taken away from them, and they went into alternative solutions and other programs as well, such as TNFA, to be able to help them out. But that's just an example. So we have to, as a society, we have to stop pleading ignorance and acknowledge both sides of the spectrum in regards to what's happening in unemployment. One, there are people that are abusing the system that shouldn't be on unemployment, that needs to get a job. Two, there are people that are using the employment because they had lost their job and they're trying to use it to better themselves through education or through a better career. And three, offering too much unemployment benefits is going to incentivize currently working class people who are trying to do good, or currently working class people who are inherently bad, to go ahead and give up on that aspect and just go to collect the benefits. So it's a whole mess. It's a big old jumble of things and everything. And I admit wholeheartedly that I could be entirely wrong and just be speaking out of my ass this entire time. I don't have a degree. I'm not an expert in this shit and everything. But as you can see, I do a lot of reading. I do my best to understand. I do my best to educate myself. And obviously there are going to be flaws in that. So I'm always open to criticism. I'm 100% open to being proved wrong on things. You know, it's part of the human experience. It's part of being human is to be proved wrong. But it's based off the rational thinking that I do, based off the logical thought process and what information I look for and what information I find, is what I am basing all of this off of, is what I base my thought process on, that there has to be a limit to the unemployment benefits. Because you see a historical reference with the AFTC program where it got abused to an extent that became so controversial that it was one of very few legislative pieces that has been abolished. Very few. As I said, because once you introduce legislation, interest groups and client politics will form around it, potentially more majoritarian politics. Once that stuff is tied to it, to try to take it down is damn near impossible, because you're going to have those interest groups, majoritarian politics, trying to keep it from being abolished.